Hello and welcome to the first Gosport Borough podcast. Today I'm joined by a Borough legend. He made 765 appearances for the club between 1973 and 1989. In that time, he went on to lead the club to promotion back to the Southern Premier League. I welcome Tony Mahoney. How are you today, Tony?
I'm good, thanks, Sam. Yeah, very well.
So, for the first thing, of course, during all this, how have you been keeping busy during lockdown?
Well, I have been doing a bit of a garden project. I think everybody seems to be having immaculate gardens around the place now. And I've sort of run out of things to do, to be honest. And yeah, I mean, we could all do with moving on, couldn't we? But I've got 3 grandchildren now as well. So we can now start seeing them again, which has been a bit of a no-no up until yesterday, actually. Yeah. But yeah, keeping pretty busy.
Yeah, good. Well, also, you kept busy. Didn't you join in the food parcels deliveries?
Yeah. I went down there and they had a bit of a promo shop down there, and saw a couple of guys working very hard down there. It was a scorching day at the time as well. Yeah. And the ground itself, I mean, it looked absolutely fantastic, I thought.
Mm-hmm.
Bit the muddy old days when I used to play.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly impressive. I mean, it's kept up well all throughout the season. You would go to the ground at some games. I think the biggest one I remember was against, who was it against? What was against Wild Casuals? It was like the Storm. There was a storm. I can't remember what the name of it. But everywhere was cancelled, I think, except one game, except our one. And you went to the pit. You thought, the pitch might be flooded. You didn't know if it was going to, and you went there, and it didn't look like it'd been moved on. It was quite incredible, actually. It looks, you'd think, most only Premier League, Championship clubs could keep that ground, a ground like that, going for that season. I mean, we only had one game cancelled to our advantage. So, I mean, it is so impressive to see.
Exactly, and we had a very similar situation actually, and I think it was late 70s maybe, and just about all the games were off, and that Privett, it must drain very well or whatever, but we were on, and it was the only game. We were playing Basingstoke on New Year's Day, I think it was, and we played this game, and honestly the pitch took literally years to recover from that, if you know what I mean. It was a bridge too far sort of thing, to play this game in an absolutely waterlogged pitch.
I mean, there is a few stories I've heard from that, 70s and 80s non-league grounds. I think it was Craig State said when they went to, where was it? I think it was Churro, or who's the other side down there? I can't remember. I think it was Churro though. That when they got there, they looked at the pitch and it was actually brown because there was so much sand on there to stop the water, flooding.
Yeah.
So I think grounds have come a long way. Some of them haven't. I think this season, Poole, that's the big one. But
sure,
especially Privett Park, I think the ground is immaculate. I think that's
it's a picture at the moment. A picture.
It's a big thank you to the groundsmen who've done incredibly well to keep that place going. Certainly.
Absolutely.
So have you been down to any games during the season? To watch any games?
I went down to one or. No, we went to 2 last year. Ironically, I've got a Legends card, so I get in free. But I got down there; it was a cup game, and it doesn't cover me for the cup game. Yeah. So, and I got down there a bit late, so I missed most of the first half, and so I had to cough up basically for a shortened game. So I was a bit tough.
What game was that? Do you remember the game?
Farnborough. It was Farnborough.
Oh, in the FA Trophy, was it first round?
Yeah.
So fairly, you saw a high-scoring game.
Really, Gosport played brilliantly second half, I thought.
Yeah, it was a very good game. How do you think when you saw that? How do you think, when you've seen reports, how do you think the season's gone for Gosport? This is seen as a new era for Gosport in a sense. The financial burdens have gone away. So
sure.
And of course, a new manager in the league who's never managed. How do you think he's done as a whole, and the club have done?
Well, it's very sort of. It seems it's a stabilising situation, isn't it, at the moment? And almost sort of comparable with Pompey sort of thing, if you know what I mean. It's, you know, let's gradually build, you know, and not do drastic things like we've had Gosport have had a bumpy few years, you know, 2 or 3 years sort of thing. So I guess it's the right way to do it, to gradually, you know, build.
I think as well with the building thing, I think we've seen it now with the idea of the school exit thing, I think, which just opened up. I mean, that's a massive step forward in my view, to get that idea of, you know, becoming a stable club in a sense, you know, having this production line where everyone comes into our club, not go out elsewhere.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I sort of mentioned to you just before we came on that, you know, in my day, 7 or 8 of the team were playing a good standard, you know, but they came from Gosport. And so there was all sorts of pluses with that. I mean, you know, no expenses to be paid and all that business. And of course, we were playing for our town. I mean, you know, absolutely all well into it. I don't know, in recent years, it just seems that people come in from all sorts of distances for all sorts of money. And yeah, this academy thing is great because, you know, hopefully the lads who come up through are going to want to play for their hometown.
Do you think having that idea of living in Gosport and playing for Gosport, do you think it helps with the idea that when you're in maybe a tough position, like for example, relegation that you were in, where it looked like on sudden you're going to go down, or maybe where you're just, people think, oh, you're too far, you're not going to make it to playoffs or promotion. Do you think it helps in a sense to have those players because they want to keep going? Maybe when, I don't want to sound wrong here, but maybe other players from different areas, not saying this is all players, but some players maybe don't think about, oh, it's a club, it's maybe, or where can I get my next position? Is that the difference between?
I think that probably did happen, but that was more so when I'd finished, if you like. I think with the setup we had up until, you know, before the 90s, at the end of the 80s, it was just such the players that signed for us from maybe Portsmouth or Southampton area, a couple of lads from the Isle of Wight, they very much bought into the team ethic. Basically, we just had a great team spirit, you know, and we were sort of, football wise, we were punching well above our weight really, and we weren't getting the sort of, you know, we were getting a bit of beer money, but we weren't getting the money that the other guys in the league were sort of getting. It was just good to play for Gosport sort of thing. I would never have played for anybody else.
Was that actually, for that one club, that idea of the one club mentality, was that something you had straight from the start? Was it something that developed over your career? Was it something that you never thought, oh, I'm going to stay for Gosport for my entire career? Was it like, I'll stay at Gosport and see where it takes me, maybe I could go higher, but after a while that changed?
Well, Sam, funnily enough, the manager preceding the manager who signed me, he wanted me,
just to tell people who are listening. This
was Charlie Howard, going way back here, early 70s. Charlie Howard tried to sign me from Gosport Saturday League, well, Saturday and Sunday League, and no, I wanted to stay playing with my mates. Mm-hmm. You know, you know, I'm not the most self-confident guy anyway, but I was I was happy playing where I was, and I turned it down. And the next season, Mick Slaymaker was manager then, and he sort of, he sold it to me basically, and that's when I signed for Gosport.
It's interesting that you said that about the self-confidence thing, because when I spoke previously to Lee Mahoney about his career, he said the exact same thing. It was a lack of confidence sometimes that didn't get to place. Do you think maybe non-league or like Sunday League, there's maybe a thing where managers are not getting that idea that some players are not confident, and maybe that's stopping them from progressing in their career? with a footballing career. Do you think
Yeah.
that's something that's a big addressed, or do you think it needs to be addressed more in a sense?
I would say so. I mean, crikey, Saturday mornings, I could have played 500 games for Gosport at this stage, and you know, Saturday mornings my stomach would be all over the place, you know, and I'm leading the team out, you know, but I'm really nervous. I had plenty to say once I was out there, I've got to say, but you know, it was just very, I was very nervous, very nervous.
Where do you think that confidence, does it have to come from within yourself, or is that a thing where is that a responsibility for the manager and the coaches around?
Yeah, I don't know. I suppose it was maybe a slightly different era where mental hang-ups and things weren't really bothered about, you know, just get out there and get on with it sort of scenario, I think. You know, I think that's almost the way it was. But as I say, I was captain for all those years, but you'd think I'd be the, you know, Mr. I am, but I most definitely wasn't. You know, definitely, very nervous. But that sort of, you know, that's me through in my life in general, sort of thing. I might seem a cocky bugger, but I'm not, sort of thing.
Yeah. And so, where did your actual love for football come? Was it quite an early age?
Yes, I from 1960, from the age I was 8, I lived in Leon-Solent, and I just used to live my life at Lee Rec, kicking a ball about with mates, and did that for the next God knows how many years, you know. And football was, my love.
Was there any particular person that was important in getting you into football? Was it
no? I wouldn't say
teacher. Or was it just yourself?
Sorry. Yeah, my mother and father split up when I was 5 years old, and so I didn't have a male, you know, part of the household sort of thing. No, I just loved football sort of thing. Spurs won the double in 1960, and that was you know, Spurs have always been my team since then. A bit like everybody supports Liverpool and Manchester United these days. Yeah.
Was that your first footballing memory there? That double winning side?
Yeah, but it was really. Yeah.
And so, with you said about your parents and maybe that father role figure, was football that almost helped teach you stuff that maybe when your dad maybe wasn't there because of the split, that football was almost that teacher in a sense, rather than you know? Do you think that helped develop you as a person, not only as a footballer?
Yeah, I think so. And you know, I happen to be pretty good at it, let's say, you know, compared to the other lads. And at primary school, I played for you know, Elson was my primary school, funny enough. Well, I was living in Lee. I started at Elson and I stayed at Elson. And I was in the Gosport and Fareham district schools team, which was a decent side. And then I went to Bay House, which was Gosport Grammar School then. I was captain. Probably had a lot to say for myself, believe it or not. Well, especially on the pitch. So I was captain of a very good Gosport Grammar team. We won the Hampshire Cup, if you like. That's for all the schools in Hampshire. So I was used to being captain a bit, if you know what I mean. But
did you always see yourself as then, because from an early age you were captain? Did you always see yourself as a leader within a team?
I did a bit. I think I know how to get. I'm blowing my own trumpet here, it sounds like, but I think I know how to treat Gary Juriev, say, different to, I don't know, Graham Wake. You know, various players. You know, I know some players just don't need encouragement and a pat on the back, whereas Gary say did. Best player possibly we've ever had, but Gary liked a pat on the back, you know, like we all do. But yeah, so I think I could, you know, cajole the best out of them, you know.
So then you play for your, was it two local Gosport teams? Was it one on a Saturday, one on a Sunday, wasn't it?
Yeah,
So who were they?
that was Brockhurst and Achilles.
Mm.
Achilles on a Sunday. We were mainly young boys, and on the Sunday teams, you know, Wheatsheaf with a big noise, but we came up and we sort of won the league a couple of times, and on Saturdays the team's called Brockhurst.
Mm-hmm.
But
and
it was
made
made up.
You at the time of all this?
I was. Do you know what, Sam? I played 4 games a weekend.
Mm-hmm.
I played 4 games most weekends. I played in a sixth form at the Bay House. I played Saturday morning for the grammar school. I played Saturday afternoon for Brockhurst. I played Sunday afternoon for Achilles, morning for Achilles, and I played Sunday afternoon for a youth team called Pegasus.
Did that ever, the workload, did that ever catch up? You know, with the workload of doing those 4 different games, did that sort of workload almost catch up in the end?
It did, and I wouldn't say it happened every weekend, Sam. It happened, but it did happen fairly regularly. Yeah. You know, it wasn't rare. You know, Pegasus might not have had a game, if you like, but
to be fair,
played. Yeah,
you're playing 1 or 2 games is still, each weekend would be quite a workload to keep going. You know, full
sure.
To keep the effort, you know, all the way through the season. So it is quite a testament to say, you know, that you were able to keep going through that.
Yeah, I mean, when I first signed in '73, the Sunday League was still a very good standard, the Gosport Sunday League, and so I was playing for Gosport on the Saturday and Achilles on the Sunday, and we weren't getting paid. We weren't getting anything then. It was all, you know, for about 3 or 4 years, but then we started to get a little something if we won, and they said, well, right, this means you can't play Sundays now. So, which was fair enough, because Gosport were giving us, you know, I don't know, a fiver to play, sort of thing. So unfortunately we couldn't play Sundays, which at the time I was really cheesed off about, because, you know, I wanted to play my Sunday football still. And
then, so you signed for Gosport. What year did you sign in '73? You made your debut in April '73. What did you sign at the same time, or did you sign a bit earlier?
I guess they must have had to sign me, but it was the last game of the season.
Mm-hmm.
And Mick Slaymaker said to me, "Look, Tone, come and play. We were playing at over in Portsmouth, the Portsmouth RN at Pitt Street." He said, "Come and play." Yeah, so it was the last game of the season. We drew 1-1, as I recall, and I did okay, and I signed on basically for the following season. Yeah.
Was it did you notice a big step up from the
non-league
to the Sunday league sort of to that sort of level?
Yes, most definitely. I mean, I was a bit like the bee's knees in the Gosport League. You know, I was playing centre forward, scoring all these goals, and then I was playing for Gosport, and I was competing with Richie Colbert, let's say a young Richie Colbert up front, and Malice, these sorts of players. And, you know, I was in and out of the team, very much in and out of the team sort of thing.
Do you think when
centre forwards, yeah.
Yeah. Do you think when that was that in and out sort of phase during Gosport, do you think that's when the problems of, you know, doubting yourself really came?
No. I think that's the way I am, if you know what I mean. Like talking to you now, I'm all a bit, you know, I'm nervous. It's not something I'm particularly confident about, you know. My daughter got married a couple of years ago, and I was absolutely terrified about making a speech, you know, for the wedding, and it did go okay in the end, but I was absolutely, for for months before, I was terrified.
So
That's just
you. So when did you go from a striker to a defender, and how the heck did that come about?
I know, I can remember it really well. It was a midweek game at Alton Town. I don't know what the competition was, but anyway, a midweek game at Alton Town. And a guy called Doug Stanley, there was two Stanley brothers, both, it was Doug and Bob. And dear old Doug broke his leg really badly. He was playing at the back alongside a good friend of mine, Martin Winning. And basically, in those days, I don't know even if we had substitutes, but anyway, I was chosen as the man to go back. I was probably the least skillful of the front ones on at the time, and I played okay. And as they say, the rest is history, really, because it suited me. It suited me better, I think.
Do you know who made that decision to put you back there?
I think it would have been. It was Mick Slaymaker and Tony Higman. Mm-hmm. They were a joint manager.
They were both. Team. They both formed Borough players as well, weren't they? I think they both.
What was that?
Was it when they both? What was it? Joint managership? Did you say?
No. This wasn't Tony Brickwood. This was a guy called Tony Higman who died. Yeah, Tony Higman and Mick Slaymaker, who was an ex-player.
What were your first thoughts when you went when they told you you're going at the back?
Yeah, well, I did enjoy it. I really did. Yeah, honestly, you don't get all the glory, I suppose, but I quite into the negativity of it, trying to stop other buggers. But yeah, I slotted into it fine. I was quick. That was one of my attributes, obviously decent in the air at my height. So yeah, it was cool. And I think I read the game pretty well. I think I've got a brain, So it was good.
Do you think being a striker for all your youth career in the Sunday leagues, do you think then going to being a defender in that league, was it the idea that you knew how strikers made runs, you knew what a striker was thinking? Do you think that gave you the edge maybe over other defenders that have just done all their career as a centre back? Someone they wouldn't be thinking like a striker.
Yeah, it's a fair point. I mean, I've always said whenever, I sort of, again, Sam, I've never coached or I've been asked a couple of times or, give advice, but I'm not that sort of person, if you know what I mean. But whatever I have ever, my tip for any defender is don't let that guy get out of your eyesight, out of your vision. The guy the centre forward that I'm marking, give him a yard in front. But when that cross comes in, he's not going to win it unchallenged. You're going to, exactly where he is. Whereas as soon as someone's on the back of you, you're in trouble. Then he's got to run at you, and you're in trouble. So that is my biggest thing. I always sort of almost came naturally not to let this guy get in my blind spot, if you like. Not to let him peel off me, as they say.
It's interesting that you said about the coach thing, saying you didn't ever think about going. It's interesting you said that, considering you talked about how as a captain you knew straight away how to deal with certain players. Very much a manager trait, the knowing how to deal with different players. Was it never something that ever crossed your mind, or something thinking, no, I've got some of the traits that I could do, maybe manage?
I know. And I can remember you mentioned Tony Brickwood just now, our manager for a long time. He'd say, Tone, I've got to go into a meeting. Can you take training tonight? Well, I literally, no, I can't. I don't like being this front man, And so I'd say to one of the other lads, do you mind taking training? Yeah, I'll do it, Tone. Yeah, great, no problem. It was just the way I was, Yeah,
Do you ever
yeah,
maybe not having a bit of
yeah.
courage saying, I'll take it and see how it is, you know? Is it ever
I
question,
know.
oh, how would it have gone if I was a manager?
Well, when I rarely do go down to the Borough, yeah, I'd very much, and that is, I know that's mainly the reason why I don't go down. I want to be back there again, if you know what I mean. And almost the only place to be is playing, rather than tearing your hair out. Oh, why didn't he do that? I just, yeah.
Hmm. I mean, have you? One thing I would have said about this season, I don't know if when you came down, you might have, because you came to a high scoring game, wasn't it? 4-2 against Farnborough. So I would say one of the big positives this season would have been
Yeah,
the defence. I think when you compare it to the last couple of seasons where there's been a bit of a goal fest in terms of our careers,
yeah,
this season we stole, the other way around. It's been very good defending, struggling to play,
yeah,
which I think is interesting. I think, it goes back to maybe the idea of Lee being a form defender, the idea of a defensive mind,
yeah.
shot
There was,
first and score. Do you think that's again the idea of defend? Do you think you would have had that same idea? Is it frustrating when you watch defenders now when they do stuff that
yeah,
you've seen
yeah,
straight away?
yeah. I mean, you have to base your team on your defence. I think or the spine of the team. You need, yeah, and it is vital to sort of be strong at the back. But I say that as a defender. I mean, yeah, let's face it, if you can score 6 goals, the other team can score 5 if they want, But I'm a bit, I just wanted the result rather than the style of the result, if you like. And that is said purely as a defender. I'd be happy with 1-0s every week, whereas I don't think the crowd would be much. You know what I mean?
It's very interesting. When people say about the idea of they won, do you think football, maybe, I don't know if it's different from fans' perspective and a footballer, do you think it's more important to either get the win or was it to entertain the fans? What did you always feel? Was it get the
Yeah,
success, enjoy the success, or was it not have maybe as much success, but really give the fans give them money's worth in terms of maybe exciting games or exciting football, but not
yeah,
ever maybe getting somewhere of it?
yeah. Sadly, I go for the, as I just alluded to, I'd go for the 1-0 at any cost sort of thing. I'm afraid I shouldn't be saying that, but uh, as I say, I was a defender all those years, so I'm happy with 1-0. Whereas if you speak to a striker next week, Sam, I'm sure he'll say, yeah, we want to, maybe losing 5-4 is a better deal, and I've backed 2 or 3 goals.
So back to your career now. Do you remember when Tony Brickwood and Peter Edgar joined as joint management, wasn't it?
Yeah, they didn't join. They were always
Mm-hmm.
part. Tony was involved with the reserves, and Pete. That they were always around the club, if you like. But when was it? It was late. I reckon it was about 77 when they took over.
Mm-hmm.
You might have your stuff there. I'm
Yeah,
trying to think of.
yeah,
I think
they were 76 because under their
right.
management they won the 2 Hampshire League titles, which you would have been part of. Were you heavily part of that team, or was you still were you part
Yeah,
of
yeah,
the first team now?
yeah.
Established first now.
I was captain by then, Sam. I was made captain in '75. Yeah, and we won the two Hampshire leagues. Again with mainly Gosport lads. Yeah. Well, it was nearly all Gosport lads then. Yeah, and then off we go into the Southern League.
What age would you become captain then in 75?
75, I would have been 23.
Well, that's quite a lot.
It wasn't that young, was it? It wasn't that young. When I signed it, I was 20, 21. I wasn't like I was.
Were a lot of the players around you younger than you? Were they older?
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah, it's a good point. There was 3 or 4 older than me, but I think we were sort of building. No, probably half a dozen bit older than me.
Did you ever find maybe, you know, being 23 and then being a bit older, it's more experience, do you ever find that difficulty at first, maybe being an authoritative voice and being able to, you know, step up to more established players and tell them, you know, either they're doing something wrong or there's something you want changed because this will benefit the team? Was that ever difficult?
Yeah, I think I've been playing a couple of seasons pretty well by then, you know, but yeah, I think it was quite a call by Tony and Pete to make me captain. I think, you know, I was quite surprised, but I think I have got those qualities. I'm not blowing my own trumpet too much, but I was pretty loud I had plenty to say, and I was probably it wouldn't. I don't think it was that surprising, but it was quite young.
So was it when you were elected to join the Southern Football League? Did you feel a lot more pressure? Was there different pressure to maybe in the Hampshire League where there's a bit, you know, this is a semi-professional league, you know?
Yeah.
That you felt the difference now between something like the Hampshire League, which is more, you know, amateur. It's a bit less high profile than something.
Yeah, very much
now
so.
Into the English professionals period.
Yeah. Our first match was Dover down here. I remember that well, and you know, it was serious stuff all of a sudden. You know, I had an interview with Radio Solent or someone with, you know, saying to you earlier how nervous I get on these things, and I was bloody terrified about that. But we were a very decent team at the time. You know, very decent. You know, winning the 2 Hampshire leagues on the trot wasn't a doggle. There was some decent teams in the Hampshire League at the time.
Do you think winning the 2 leagues in a row almost helped that idea of saying, we know we're good enough to win stuff?
Yeah.
And it's not one of those, maybe a fluke season when you've done well and then all of a sudden it's just jump up and a bit of a shot. Were you confident enough with your own ability that you can do enough in these leagues?
Waterlooville, which is now haven't, but they were Waterlooville before then. They were in the Southern League previous to us, and they tended to cherry pick the best players of the region, if you like. But we one of my highlight games that I remember was we hammered them 7-2 on an evening game down at Privett. So yeah, we'd arrived. We were a decent team. And you know, Sam, just to finish this, I've got to get this in against the Irish Tribals. When I first played and centre forward and then back, Fareham beat us every time. They were a very good side, Fareham, and they had plenty. They were all very cocky, and you know, but by the mid-70s, it had turned round, and we were the boys on top. So that was very good. You know, Fareham, no.
Not fair. Not
I was
really,
very anti-Fareham.
I mean, Fareham not really recovered since, you know. Gosport boys really on top, so
exactly.
Down to you guys. I mean, to be fair, I don't know if you know this stat, but in the first 4 seasons of the Southern League, Gosport never finished outside the top 4.
Really?
Yeah. That was the first 4. I mean, for those 5 to 7 years, where let's say from the first Hampshire League title to all the way to that Waterlooville victory, what was that turning point that thought we're going somewhere with this team? You know, this could be different.
I just think, you know, before that, you sort of get the Sunday papers and you read about these teams in the national press. You know, the Dovers, the Ketterings, you know, Christ, I can't, you know, Chelmsford, Dartford, all these guys, and yeah, we're playing them. We're playing them, and we're beating them. You know, not every week, but we were a match for anybody.
Mm-hmm.
So we were pretty confident, but it was important to hang on to that nucleus. You know, to hang on to our best players, and not many people left Gosport for, you know, Gary went to Portsmouth, obviously, Gary Dreyer. But not many people left us for, you know, through choice for a better team, if you know what I mean.
Now then, of course, the only little blip in the story now is in 1984, Gosport relegated from their Pro Division stage. Did that maybe did that have an effect on the club, big effect, or was it almost seen as a little blip, and, you know, people keep going up, or did this really think, oh, no, this upwards, you know, it was now going to stop now?
Yeah, it was a rubbish season, it really was. Yeah, I mean, there was injuries, there was one thing, you know, we've got all the usual excuses, but some of the guys had come to the end of their careers. Yeah, the absolute main men, if you like. I mentioned Richie Cool, but yeah, Roger, Graham, all these guys had come to the end of their careers, and we were pretty threadbare, to be honest. It was a tough time behind the scene as well, because, you know, bad results on the pitch tend to knock on into the off the pitch scenario, don't they?
Are you able to tell us what happened off the pitch or not?
Sorry?
What, are you able to tell us what happened on the pitch?
Well, I mean, changes of personnel and chairman changed, I think. Managers, I'm trying to think when Tony and Pete finished, whether it was that year or you know, we bounced straight back. That's what I want to come on to. So. But I'm trying to think of the exact timing. So I'm a little bit hazy. I'm getting very old now, you know. But yeah, that was just a bad season. It was a bad season for various reasons, I think.
During the lead up to, like, the next season, was your mentality, oh, we're going to bounce back straight, or was it there was a self-doubt there as maybe yourself as a captain, and say, you know, am I up to it? Was that really there? Did you have a positive mindset going into it?
It really a bit more positive, because we were in a lower league, but I wouldn't say that we had a couple of good signings. Simon Pope came over from Havant. But honestly, Sam, what I'm going to say about that season is just from Christmas, we just couldn't stop winning, you know, and each Saturday you sort of think, not who are we playing, but who are we beating this week, almost, because the confidence was just incredible. I've never done anything like that.
I had the stat of the run. Do you know how many wins you had in a row, and how out of the final 19 matches?
No.
You had 16 wins in a row in the final 19 matches.
Yeah. And that was I'm not surprised by that. It was, you know, we weren't doing especially well at Christmas. We were sort of okay, and then you just felt each week we went out, who are we going to beat? Who are we going to beat this week, sort of thing. Not will we beat so and so. Yeah, it was brilliant. It was great fun. Yeah.
Was that? Did you feel, maybe as a player as well, did you feel that was your best season as a team?
It was, that first Southern League season was very special as well.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, this was sort of, I think they jigged the leagues around a bit. This was the Southern Division of the Southern League, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, so
they
it was,
restructured the league in 1982, the
yes,
1983 season. And
yes, exactly. So this was, if you like, not the league that we'd gone into in '79, but yeah, it was great fun sort of thing. But the first Southern League season, I think, was very special as well. Yeah.
was it maybe that you maybe a bit of the uniqueness in that, you know, this was your first time in
Yeah,
idea of a professional league in a sense. Not that it was professional, but idea this was
yeah,
a different standard. This was another level up.
absolutely. You know, and there was, you know, loads of ex-pros or guys who became pros. You know, I could be marking Kerry Dixon one week or Alan Smith another week, you know, and these guys all went on to have very successful careers, you know. Yeah, it was very exciting, but we were, you know, we were taking them on and we were doing them a lot of the time.
Were many of the Borough players that you played in that first season of the Summer League still there when you got promoted again?
Yeah, Gary, Steve, no, maybe Steve Ingman wasn't playing when we went. No, Steve wasn't playing when we went up. Gary was. Andy, maybe Andy Lohman was playing in the first. Yeah, it's tricky actually.
So there were a few still left, was there?
Yeah.
Do you think maybe, you know, of course, some of those original players you started with, they're left. Do you think maybe it was a bit more special because those are the players you've gone up through, you know, and this was, you know,
Yeah.
it's sort of a journey altogether. While this was a slightly different team, and it was, you know, you had to go down, and it had a very quick, you know, rise in terms of it was only a couple of months. This was 3 years in the making, essentially.
Yeah, and it was a different team actually, Sam. You know, I'm just thinking. I said to you before, the year we went down. Yeah, quite a few of the guys were coming towards the end and had career-ending injuries. So, having said that, there wasn't many apart from myself and Gary. I'm trying to think when Gary went to Portsmouth. But other than Gary going off to Portsmouth, John Hawes, of course.
Mm-hmm.
John Hawes.
Yeah.
But John did live abroad for a few years, so he had a hole in his season. I'm not sure exactly when that was.
Yeah, with maybe those players that didn't stay, maybe lad left the club already that you originally were with in the first. Do you think your relationship maybe with the side changed a bit? Was it more a bit distant because you didn't have that very closeness, or was it the same?
No, it was the same. It was the same. I think I, you know, any new player that would come in, you know, I remember Ali Unick came in and he said, "Christ, what a team spirit you've got here," you know, and he'd already been playing for Bognor and Havant and other teams, you know. Trevor Williams, who became manager after Tony and Peter, he always ex-Welsh amateur international and played in many teams. He loves Gosport. He just loves the spirit of Gosport.
Do you think there were any differences in maybe you as captain now, quite a very experienced captain in '85 when new players joined? Do you think there was a difference in how you treat them to maybe, I don't know if there were any, but maybe anything you felt you lacked, you know, in terms of, you know, maybe advice when you first joined? Do you think there were changes in that when you were captain? Did you notice maybe players felt it easier? As you said, one of the big things was that players didn't realise how big of a jump it was. Do you think you made a conscious effort to make sure these players weren't thinking, "Oh God, I don't know"?
No, exactly. I very much tried to encourage. You know, I mean, when I first started, just as an example, as an example to that, Sam, when I first started playing for Gosport, as I said, Waterlooville were the big noise, and they were in a floodlit. There was a floodlit league on a Wednesday, and they wanted me to go over as a trialist almost, because there was talk about me, this good player for Gosport, say at the time, and I didn't really want to, but they sent me over there. And honestly, the dressing room was literally hostile. It was literally, I felt so bloody awkward. Our dressing room wasn't like that at all. Wasn't like that at all. You know, it was so, you know, inclusive.
Yeah.
So, and you know, we'd have, you know, 2 or 3 lads from Southampton, and they, if we were to hold a reunion tomorrow, they'd all be, thing, you know. 2 or 3 lads from the Isle of Wight, great club, Steve Greening and Gareth Williams, who turned pro. So no, we had a fantastic spirit that was very special, I think, to Gosport.
I think, to be fair, that spirit you talk about, I think I've certainly noticed this season, you know, being my first season at the club, it's, you know, that's been maintained throughout all these years. You know, players are really close, you know, there's a definite closeness as well, you know, the manager, you know, and as a system, you know, they very much keep that idea of, you know, it's a closeness together, you know, being part of it and making sure that even all the new players are, you know, part of that new team, because a lot of these players, of course, have been together for quite a few years now. You know, Rory, Theo, Michael haven't together, you know, and then all former Borough players, they already know. But yeah, I think that's a very special part of the club they've maintained throughout all these years.
Sure. No, that's great to hear. As I say, no, go on.
So going back to the bit now, you really want to talk about the promotion.
Well, no. As I say, Sam, it was we weren't mid-table. We were up top half at Christmas, but yeah, it was just a case of win sort of thing, you know.
You were up the top half. At Christmas? Did you feel maybe that pressure at the start of the season? You know, because you've just been relegated, you know, from a league above, the pressure of people saying you've got to get back up, you know.
I think we had. I just mentioned Ali Unit. Simon Pope signed from Havant, as I say, and Ali Unit got fit. Andy Lohman was playing well. We suddenly had a good strike force. You know, we had a good strike force. We possibly, myself and Steve England were the centre backs, and Gary. I think we were pretty strong at the back. Anyway, but we had a goal scoring threat, and it's amazing how 2 or 3 changes can do the trick. You know, I'm trying to see the team sheets almost, but you know, it's all a bit what name, but and you just, as I keep saying, we just thought, well, who are we going to turn over this week? Because that was how confident we were.
And of course, you said about that free-flowing attacking football. You won the last game 5-0 against Salisbury.
Yeah.
Did you know there was more than 1,500 people at the stadium?
Yeah, it was a big crowd.
Really feel that pressure, maybe walking out, knowing all these people coming to watch, you know. Reputation sort of built over the season. This team that was, you know, not going to stop. You know, anyone that came their way, they were losing, you know, heavily. So was that a bit of a pressure you thought going into that game? You know, there's a lot of people here expecting. We were
well up for it. But it was a gorgeous day. It was a day like today. It was absolutely just a brilliant day, you know. And I can't remember how the game, you know, when we scored our first goal or 2 or whatever, but it just went fantastically well. Yeah.
Did the goal come early in the game?
I don't know. I just hoping you might tell me that, and because I can't remember.
I
honestly
did
can't.
try to have a look, and I couldn't find anything. So I was going to say, was it a bit of a pressure, thinking, going through all that, and thinking, oh, are you going to get promoted? And I did that first goal, not coming for a while, and then it all eased out afterwards.
I honestly don't know. I honestly can't remember. But as I said to you before, Sam, it was pre-match. We'd have been thinking, right, by how much are we going to win by today? It's a figure I've never had before, sort of thing,
So then, what were the next 2 years like? You got back in the Southern Premier. What was it like back? Did you find a bit of a shock going back up? Maybe a season,
No,
because
we had a good team. We had a good team then. We suddenly there was a bit of an insurge of money. The times were changing. I could see that. And I found that in retrospect, one or two of the lads were getting a bit more money than one or two of the other lads. I mean, we'd always with Gosport, it was, 10 quid for everybody and an extra £5 if you won, let's say, something like that. Do you know what I mean? But this was different. We brought players in, and some of them were on decent money. Trevor Williams was manager, and Trevor, he's a very good friend of mine, but Trevor is quite money orientated. Trevor wouldn't have come back to manage for nothing, sort of thing.
Yeah.
And yeah, he had loads of contacts. So he got some good players in. Nigel Mottershed, A.D. Ames, the Hampshire wicket keeper, A.D. Ames.
Yeah.
Both great additions, and that's the team was strengthened a lot. The Isle of Wight boys, Steve Greening and Garrett. Yeah, so but with that was the sort of, I'd argue, Sam, that was the sort of the beginning of the end, as I knew.
Mm-hmm.
We're all in this together. We're all getting, a bit of beer money, to suddenly, now that bugger's getting more than me, and I'm playing better than him. So I don't mean that, but that sort of thing. But that's the way it is. I mean, that's progress for you. Sort of. I'm not decrying it now.
Yeah.
I'm not.
But did you ever get frustrated and think, or was it always you saw it as a great good thing that, even though I'm not getting as much, the team's performing better because we're getting better players? Or did you find it wasn't right that some players, who've been there for a long time like yourself, worked hard to get the club in that position, and then found, these players who've just come in maybe haven't proven themselves yet as a Borough player, and now getting better than me?
No, I didn't feel like that, Sam, personally, because, as you just said, we were getting better players in, and to be honest, mate, that was the way it had to be, or you weren't going to get these players. You had to pay the going rate. So, yeah, the fact, and also I was maybe not the player I was 5 years previous. So I was lucky to get in the team.
Yeah. Did you? Did you feel that the foundations that the club built on the idea of that this close unit, these Borough players, was lost by that time? You felt a bit, maybe not saying you didn't felt a bit distant, maybe not close to these guys because they weren't in it for the same ideas as you were. This idea of you want to play for your local club, you want to do well for them, not all it's a bit of extra money and I'm playing a sport I like. Yeah,
I mean, it was a big change. It was sort of just about after I'd finished it sort of completely. We got relegated this year. That year, 89, 90. Money was being spent on players who weren't really worth that money. I don't know. It felt, and that there followed a few bad seasons for Gosport.
Did you Was that
I
maybe?
wasn't. I wasn't around at all, really. No.
Was that maybe one of the reasons you sort of retired in '89? Was it not? I know you said you were getting older, but maybe you came out a bit more because you felt frustrated that this wasn't you.
No,
Same
I
ideas you've gone into it and now changing. It wasn't maybe the same.
yeah.
The people around who weren't thinking the same ways, and had the right ideas and mentality to keep going.
Well, Andy Lohman was made manager at the beginning of the 89-90 season. In pre-season training, he's my best friend, by the way. And in pre-season training, I slipped. Gary Jurieff jumped on my back when I wasn't expecting him to, and I slipped a disc. Basically, I was out until November. I played my first game against Weymouth. It was down here in November, and it was my last game virtually. I couldn't turn. It was the end of me. I was 37 anyway, but I had to retire. That was it. But I didn't want to. As I say, my best buddy was manager, and I wanted to help out as much as possible, but it just wasn't on. So I retired because of injury, not because of anything.
Was that something you realised yourself, or was it someone else had to come and say you're not doing the same things you were able to? It was a bit.
I saw. I say it was just this one game against Weymouth. This happened in July, pre-season training in July, and this was November, I think, when I first played. And I just couldn't turn. A guy would just run past me, and despite the fact that I was a lot older, I couldn't turn. So yeah, that was that. Sadly.
Yeah, I mean, just jumping back a bit, in the 87-88 season, how much did you play at that season? Was it not a lot, or was it a bit part player?
In which season?
87-88, when you won the Hampshire Senior Cup. Were you involved in a lot in that, or was it a bit?
Yeah, I was in all of it. Yeah.
So
didn't miss it.
Why do you think during up to April it was you struggled? There were odds-on favourites. Gosport were odds-on favourite to go down. All of a sudden, this Hampshire Senior Cup run came about. Why do you think that there was that turning point? What happened? Was there a difference in training? Was it just a mentality thing?
I don't know. I honestly don't know. I haven't. Christ, I haven't sort of looked that one up, Sam. We had what I thought. I didn't realise that we were that close to really, going down, to be honest.
Well, in the end, I think I've got the table. I'll see if I can get it up again. You beat as well, just whilst I'm trying to find it. You played at the Dell, Southampton. Was that quite a big thing to go to, I think they were in the second division at the time to, previous first division ground, essentially. What was that like?
Yeah, that was great. That was one of my highlights because, and winning the Hans Senior Cup, and Farnborough were definitely the favourites that night. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that was absolutely great. But I didn't realise we were sort of, talking about relegation that year.
I mean, here we go. Gosport, in the end, finished 4 points ahead of Chelmsford City, who were the last team in the last relegation place with 43 points. Gosport had 47 points, so it was quite close. There were three teams. They were above three teams. They were above Redditch United versus Rugby Town and Burton Albion, the other two sides, just ahead of then Gosport, who were in 15th place. But yeah, it was tight, close, and it was clearly. But do you think that cup really helped, change that?
Yeah.
Was there a change mentality? You're thinking of that season, looking back, maybe if that run hadn't happened, you would look back and said, that was a great season, but this cup really changed your thought of that.
Yeah, I think that was probably how we thought. I mean, yeah, we were playing. Trevor Trevor was a completely different manager to what Gosport had been used to. Trevor Williams, he played football. Seriously, you know, he had a coaching badge. We played it out from the back, like all the guys do these days. In my time, it was get the ball up front and let them get on with it a bit, you know. So, you know, it was a big adjustment for the team in general to suddenly start playing this game, and whether that hampered us a bit, I don't know. Getting used to a new system. Yeah, I mean, I'd always been used to 4 at the back. Trevor brought in 3 at the back, for example. The little things like that took a little while to sort of get your head round. Maybe that, but I remember that team being a very good team. But yeah, we must have struggled in the earlier part of the season.
Did you think when did you notice the difference between having a coach licensed manager compared to manager who was a former player that just decided I'll get into management?
Yes, most definitely.
Did it improve you as a player? Would you say that was the time you felt that was the biggest development? And if maybe you had that early career, maybe we could have gone even further.
Yeah, I would say that. I would say that because you know, if I tried to play the ball out of defence or do anything like that, I'd get a rollicking at half time. But you know, you get rid of it, sort of thing. Whereas now, or even then with Trevor, but especially nowadays, I'm sort of, I watch the football and I think, crikey, you know, they're messing about with it in their own penalty area. Yeah.
So now going back to, you know, after retirement, was it odd not having to, you know, think about a Saturday and getting up, you know, maybe those, like you talked about those nerves, you know, on a Saturday morning and going to was that, did you cope with that well? Was that a bit of a relief not having to have those nerves on a Saturday morning?
No, I was very, very sad, but hugely missed it. Yeah. I mean, I had 3 young children at the time, but so I was kept pretty busy, but no, I don't know how my wife coped with me going off to football every day previously, every Saturday previously to that. But no, it's a huge, still miss it now, Sam, you know, but yeah, that was 30 odd years ago. And I missed it greatly.
Was there ever a point where you started going to, after you retired, going to regularly to Gosport Borough games, or was it just because it's too frustrating for you to watch?
Well,
do you avoid it?
I was always through that first season and that when all the guys that I knew were there, and then it sort of changed. It changed quite drastically.
Yeah,
a couple of seasons after that, you know, and it was I didn't really know many of the players at all. So that was that, and I don't know. Saturdays became a busy day, you know. I'm doing this and that on Saturday afternoon, if you know what I mean. So yeah. But I must get down there. I must get down there more often. I know that because What I would say, Sam, is if I go to Gosport Rugby Club, I will see more people of my generation there and people I know, Gosport people I know, than, you know, what I'm trying to say is that rugby have this almost more of a family. Family. Do you know what I'm trying to say? Whereas the couple of times I've been to Gosport, literally last time I went, I didn't know anybody there. I didn't recognise anybody there, you know. And that's mainly because I don't go down as much as I should. But what I'm saying is, if Gosport, which is what you're suggesting as well, you know, that sort of more of a sort of family friendly. Do you know what I mean? I think you know what I mean about say Gosport Rugby Club. You get all the ex-players, you know, are in their 60s, even older. They're all down there with their children and things like that. It's not quite the same, but it's more of a professional setup at the football club, isn't it? So
Yeah.
I guess, but
Do you think?
I just point that out.
Do you think that might change with like the idea of the youth set, this idea of
Well,
getting kids in from
yes,
different, all these separate different little clubs, getting them all in together and saying to people, different generations, encourage them to go to these games. Don't just
sure.
go and play, and then just say, oh, that's it. I mean, the whole idea of, I think one of the big things in particular, as chairman wants to do, is to get this idea of Gosport is there as not just a football club, that has local.
Yeah.
It is a local community football club where everyone can get involved. I think the food parcel delivery idea was again another step to getting the idea of keep going, get it closer, and trying to get these ideas. What Gosport Rugby doing, everyone goes to there on a Saturday rather than maybe trying to go to Portsmouth or Southampton or even Louisville, in a sense, rather than they all come to Gosport instead.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And it's. God, I've forgotten what I was going to say then. I had a point to make, but it's difficult because you can just walk down Gosport Park and hang around, walk the dog, take in a bit of the rugby and have a chat with the old boys that this is a lot more of a professional setup at the football club. So, but having said that, as you say, with the academy, and you get the players in with that, I'm playing for Gosport, I'm playing for my hometown sort of thing. That's a much nicer feel for spectators and for players, I'd say, to have less outsiders coming in,
Would you feel maybe players of, your generation team of like the late 70s and early 80s? Those players, or those ex-players would maybe be more inclined to go to Gosport when they know that these setups in place, they know these players are coming through that are from Gosport and they care. Would you feel maybe ex-players would have more of an attachment to the club, knowing that
definitely
that same ideas that were lost, during the end of your career and during the 90s, would now be back, in the club?
Yeah, I definitely think so. You talk to people around and they say, "Oh Christ, the goalkeeper comes up from Cornwall or somewhere," or and it's just madness sort of thing. There's got to be a decent goalkeeper a bit closer than down there. But I mean, it's not just the wages; it's the expenses, the costs, and that. But I don't want to sound like an old bitter and twisted sort of thing. I wouldn't have swapped my days for anything. I feel so lucky, and I was happy getting my money to spend on my beer after the game. I was just happy with that, But it's good. This, as you say, Sam, this academy thing is hopefully it seems to be very well run down there now.
Yeah.
The club, not just the academy, but the club in general.
Yeah, I think it's moved definitely.
Not that I'm
professional.
Not that I'm authority on it. Yeah.
Yeah, and the idea this is a project. It's not just for a few couple of years. Show this idea. Look how amazing we are, and then forget about it. Or I mean, it's definitely an idea. Getting to a place where this is a stable, even in like National League South, stable club, and it really going places where it's almost run like a professional club, not on the same budget, of course, but it's run like a professional club that still has the ideas of Gosport, it's always had, and just keep running that. I mean, the two things we put in the club put place are definitely on the same route, but that happens. I think the big thing the club acknowledges it needs to get back, up internationally. So that helped bring him definitely.
Yeah.
I don't think not only fans, but I think more local players, maybe some players that, local players from Hammond and Lot of Louisville who've been there for a while, maybe come back to, some football players, from other areas like Weymouth, all these local areas. I think that would be more attractive. I think the problem is, of course, was what trying to compete against Portsmouth and Hammond, and in Southampton, that's two particularly very big clubs to have to fight against, for all these local talent, isn't it?
But for any local young lads, I'd argue, to go and play there on a Saturday is it's fantastic. I think it's great. It looks a very impressive setup down there now. And as I say, it seems to be, not that I'm an expert on it, but the couple of times I've been down there, or at the moment we often walk through Privett Park, and it just looks so good down there.
I think as well, like those sort of setups as well, it helps get players maybe who weren't, again, the thing of the confidence, but as well players who never had the chance to get to that, like the size. I'm sure you had players from your Sunday League size or younger who were good enough to get into a Gosport teams or other teams in that area. It gives them a great chance because, I imagine during your time, there wasn't scouts, everywhere, managers or people to go and find out go to every club and find, that's what we want. Just start. You had to cherry pick what you had, from very little.
Yeah.
I mean, the big idea is, making a bigger net so everyone has a chance, and you're not letting anyone slip by who will be a massive talent, I think.
Sure. Sure. Yeah.
Also, it's a great thing to say to players, you have the opportunity maybe to go to, this is a platform to maybe jump up to Portsmouth or somewhere, and they maybe choose.
Yeah.
I think it helps with that idea, you're saying about the arenas go. You have two choices. You can stay at Gosport, you can at Portsmouth, and either one of those, if you stay at Gosport, they're going to be loyal there. So, you've got that, you haven't got that worry thinking, are these players, wanting to play for the club? Because they've rejected something like Portsmouth to stay with the club.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, at the time with me, Wimbledon were asking after me, and who were in the the First Division at the time, and Saints both inquired. But for me, I had a career. I was a surveyor. I had a career, and I was playing for my hometown, captain in my hometown. I was probably, mid-20s by then as well. But it was easy to say. Sorry?
Was there any temptation at all to go to, or was it just nothing?
Not really, as I say. I'm going back to the old self-confidence bit again. But also, as I say, I had my decent career, and I was loving my football very much, thank you, at Gosport. So that was that. It didn't go any further.
So maybe my next bit, I will maybe ask a couple, maybe people, this career, some people might know, a bit about your career, but, maybe get a bit about you, maybe a bit outside your career. During your whole career, what were you doing as a job, What was work, for, you had to have a job that worked around football, of course. So what was that like?
There was the guy I worked at Winchester for Hampshire County Council, and a land surveyor, these guys who look through a theodolite and that.
I know the ones,
Yeah. So mainly at schools. So if they're going to put an extension on a school or build a new school, we did a survey first and all that. But my boss at the time, he was great. He was chuffed to nuts. He had this sort of bit of a celebrity footballer in the camp, if you know what I mean. So if we were playing away I remember one Wednesday, away at King's Lynn on a Wednesday night, it means you've got to leave at lunchtime sort of thing. It wasn't a problem. I could make it up later sort of thing. But for some of the lads, it was tricky. Some of the lads who were you know, scaffolders or builders, you know, they lose money over playing for Gosport, or whatever.
Do you think?
I was lucky in that respect. Sorry, son.
Do you think, as a player, mentally, you know, knowing that you had this job that was allowing you to work, was working itself around football, do you think it helped improve, made you a better player? Not in the sense that, you know, it improved football, but you didn't have that burden of thinking, oh, I'm missing out on this money, you know, I'm putting added pressure and all that on.
I think that's right. I think I didn't have to worry about it at all. Whereas, as I say, some of the lads, I sort of, Christ, and I've got to be X or Y. I've got to, having got back from Kings Lynn, you know, 3 o'clock in the morning. Yeah, that was the same for me. I did get up at 7 o'clock next morning, but they might have had to drive to Birmingham because they're a sales rep or something. I don't know. But yeah, no, it was great not to have that additional cloud, if you like. Yeah.
Of course, one thing you did mention as well, as your player, about a little, where was it? An incident with a red card, you know, you what was that about with the bath?
Oh, the bath.
The bath early. Where did that
was
when did you get that idea?
Well, I just remember it really well. But Folkestone had this very good player up front, quick as lightning he was, Frank Ovard. And I think they beat us 5-2 away on a night game. And someone, anyway, I just took him out. I just body checked him out, and I'd already been booked. Right, off I go, red card. But there was only about 2 minutes to go. And Folkestone have got this bath, Sam, and it's enormous and deep. And we'd already played there 2 or 3 times by then. And of course, I was first in there, and all the boys on the way back were saying, "Yeah, you only got sent off to get in that bath first." Yeah.
Was it an idea you had? Was it an idea that went around, you know, before ever? You know, or was it just something you thought? You know, No,
I didn't get sent off on purpose. I just took him out, sort of thing.
When did you realise?
And I'll tell you what, there's a follow-up to the story, because we'd go and have a beer afterwards, and we were sort of quite close. Mm-hmm. And he said, "Tone, this Frank Over, this Folkestone centre forward, said to me, look," he said, "if you want, when your hearing comes up for the red card," he said, I'll testify for you that you know, you didn't actually take me out," sort of thing. And he did. He came all the way down from. He was in the Navy, but he was somewhere up north, and he came down, and he actually gave evidence, and I got off that sending off. So,
you got a win-win. So there was a win-win. So there was nice suspension.
Yeah.
There was first dibs on the bath then as well.
Yeah. So it was good.
No one else tried it later on the season, did they? Or any other times? No one else tried it.
No.
At other places,
No.
Really,
honestly,
it was quite a good idea in the end.
It was a special bath. The Privett, honestly, mate, I go back, as you know, and the baths, the showers at the borough, they used to be just a trough of a bath.
Yeah.
They did the showers, and like at training or match games, you know, if you're late getting in there, there's like an inch of muck floating on the top, you know, and you're getting in there. Yeah, horrible.
Was that the one thing you did dread at Gosport? You don't dread? That's the one thing you don't miss, is it? Funny enough.
It seemed normal. To be honest, it seemed normal behaviour, Sam, you know.
But you don't miss that now. That's the one bit of the career. Is it funny enough?
No. But I do miss a lot of it. I do miss a hell of a lot of it, yeah.
What would you say the one big thing you miss? If there was one thing you could say, you know, if, you know, someone said to you, "Oh, you go back, you take one bit from your football career and have it now," what bit would it be?
That Salisbury game does stick out, I've got to say. I mean, because we had to win that game, I think, to go up. Yeah. And you know, we really did it in style, and it was a beautiful sunny day. But also on my little notes, I did put that 1-0 away win at Wealdstone.
Yeah.
Wealdstone had Stuart Pearce playing for them at the time, and Vinnie Jones, and they just about sewn up the league already. I think it was in March or something. And we went away and we won there 1-0. Yeah. And that was great from a defender point of view, because it was very much backs to the wall. Yeah.
Do you think that was a particular bit as well, showing like the camaraderie of the whole side?
Yes.
This.
Yeah.
These
it
were
really was.
And that maybe, you talk about these players that, not saying that they all would, but these players that come in later who didn't on the money, that something like that would have been a bit like, this is the accepted defeat. It's trying to keep it maybe the score sheet down rather than saying, you know what, there's something in this for us.
Exactly, and that was the whole thing about our team of the 70s and 80s. Was the spirit. We might not have been as skillful as some of the other teams, but we left it all out there. Yeah.
Now, final bit, just to help you, if you feel a bit embarrassed by this, but we're going to do it anyway. As you know, part of it was to tell you your three best players you ever played with. Now, I wanted to say a couple. Of course, there were other players who also filled out the form, and this was one of them. What Tony Mahoney said. He said you were also one of the best players he played with at Borough. He said he was an exceptional player and superb captain and leader off and on the pitch. Came to the club as a forward, but converted to arguably the best central defender the club ever had.
I'd agree with that.
And there were a few, there were more like that. Let's see if I struggle. It's a bit slow, this thing. Yeah.
I'll come back to John for it. We were away in Kent somewhere. Let's say we were at Canterbury or Ashford. And the ball went down into the corner and John was meant to be chasing after it. And he was sort of going down there a bit half-heartedly. John, for f***'s sake, I really gave him a shout. And one of the guys at the back said, Tony, he's struggling a bit. And basically, he ended up, he'd broken a bone in his ankle that previously. But I think he gave me the reply that was required as well, by the way. So he didn't hold back. But, yeah.
Has he ever forgiven you for that?
Yeah. But, I'm sure every team will say the same about. That's why team sport is so important. I think my teams were all very special, with very special players like John and Gary and Martin and all these players. But you go to a Farnborough player or a so-and-so player, and they'd be saying the same, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And that is what is great about team sport. I think you get these precocious, mind you, the pro footballers are pretty precocious these days. But I was going to say tennis players, or they're having their tantrums, aren't they? In a team game, you're not really allowed to get away with it so much, are you? Because you're on them, if they start all that malarkey. But no.
Ali Unit, you mentioned Ali before. He said, it's the final one. You're a great captain and outstanding leader on and off the field. Tony was a top quality defender and an excellent role model.
Yeah.
Do you think, lovely, when you hear that stuff, do you feel does that, feel embarrassing, or is it, you really like, you think that, I did all these things, when there was self-doubt, you think, I did make the right decision there?
Yeah. I mean, that's great. That's great that the guys say those lovely things, and I'd be saying the same things about them, sort of thing.
Can you?
Yeah.
Could you quickly tell us your three best players you ever played with and why?
Richie Corbett, we never replaced. He got injured, and just Richie's whole persona on the pitch, he had so much of gob, if you like, and he almost exuded confidence, but he could back it up physically. Richie could back it up. He'd take on anybody. So definitely Richie. Who else have I got here? Gary, of course. Gary Jurieff, fantastic. Gary just as I say, needed a pat on the back from time to time. And a bit of a left field one, Mark Foster was a very, very skillful player. And if he'd have had maybe my passion, if you like, he would have gone, you know, but it all came so easy to Mark. But he was a fantastic, fantastic player. Yeah.
So the last question I'm going to ask. As a player, now you've retired, how do you think you're remembered as a player at Gosport? And are you happy with that, or do you see yourself as a different player?
Well, from what the lads there have just written, that's lovely. That's how I'd like to be remembered as, yeah, a good leader, a decent player, probably in that order.
Well then, I guess that's it of our first ever Gosport Borough podcast. I'd like to say thank you to Tony for joining us on our first ever Gosport Borough. Have you enjoyed it?
I've enjoyed it. Yeah, thanks very much.
Have the nerves slightly eased down now, you know, after a while?
Yeah. I'm cool as a cucumber now, Sam. You've been very good. You've been taking it easy with me.
I imagine my questions were too tough, hopefully, because there was too many not many negatives, luckily, in this story.
Yeah, no, it was good.
Well, thank you very much for your time
mate.
listening to the Gosport Borough podcast. And then